just creaming this box. There we go. Welcome back to Arcade. I am Super Tommy, and in this video, we're going to look at creating a sword swing attack. So you see, got a knight here. Here's my knight. You can swing a sword. So this is a demo project that I've created to demonstrate how you can do the sword swing attack. So we're not going to go over how we set up this knight or the scene. We have plenty of other videos that you can look at for creating this knight. We'll go over it briefly before we get started. Now this is going to be in arcade physics, and what's going to happen is when we sword swing on this box or wall or like dummy, it's going to turn red to show that damage has occurred. And if you swing and there's nothing there, nothing will happen. So you can use the same logic in your game for whatever enemies you may be attacking. Now we're using arcade physics in this video. For matter physics, it will be basically the same concepts. If you'd like a video on that, do let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, be sure to hit like and subscribe to this channel for more videos on making games for the web using technologies like Phaser and other web technologies. Okay, so we got this knight from Game Art 2D. They've got a bunch of nice free art here. This is their free sprites. So this is the knight we're using, but they've got a lot of other cool stuff too, so do check them out. That's at gameart2d.com. Let me make myself smaller here. So let me just walk you through this project a little bit. This is using the standard or the basic arcade parcel Phaser 3 template. You can find it at github.com/arcade. And so if you've seen any of the videos on this channel, it's the same project setup. So we're using TypeScript as well. So that's how this scene is set up. It's called the sword attack scene. All we have here is the knight. He can move around, and we use a state machine for that. Now we've covered the state machine in our channel here. Either you want to look, so let's see, let's go to our videos. You can either look for like one of these, so character logic with a state machine in our side-scrolling platformer series. So that's a great video for you to see how we do this character. It's the same basic concepts. For a state machine specific video, we have, let's see, we have a state machine video here. State machine in TypeScript. You can go check that out. We'll leave these links in the description below as well. But this character is very much similar to the penguin in our side-scrolling platformer. Although in that one, we're using matter physics. Okay, so here's our guy. So let me just show you through here. We're loading the knight sprite sheet or atlas. And so we made that with Texture Packer. When you download the images here, I believe they're given to you not as atlases, but as individual PNGs. So you just got to combine that into a texture, which we do talk about in our side-scrolling platformer series. You can find the entire playlist if you go to playlists and just look at the side-scrolling platformer in Phaser 3.50 playlist. So we do that, we load that up here. We just create our sprite, which is just a physics sprite. We set the size, so this is just for this bounding box, so that it's more compact, because otherwise it'll be the entire picture, which is a little bit bigger. So we just use the width and the height, 40%, and then 85% of height. We do this so that we don't, this set collide world bound, so that we don't walk off the world here. This is very much a demo project. Your game is probably more complex and different than that. Then we just create some animations, which we go over in our other videos as well. Here's a state machine. Now we have the idle state, which is right now, as he's breathing up and down, that's idle, can run. And this is just moving with the arrow keys. And then attack is the sword swing. So we're going to spend most of our time in this attack state to do the logic for bringing out another hitbox so that we can know when it has hit something. So we set our state machine to start at idle. And then this is our box. So this is the dummy box that we're talking about, this white box over here with HP 100. So this is the box itself as a state machine. It's going to help us with the damage. So when we hit it, we're going to change the box's state. So now you've seen in some other videos, we talked about using multiple state machines. Here's one way that could be helpful. So your box is a state machine and your player has a state machine. So now we have idle for the box, which just it's standing here, and then damage, it'll just blink red briefly. And we start our box name machine at idle as well. Now this is just the HP text, simple text, put it right above that box. We add a collider between the night and the box so that we don't run through it. Okay, so let's just go up here to our class properties. The night state machine, the box state machine, we have our cursors, so just standard cursors for moving our night around. HP text and the actual box HP 100. I'll just keep track of every time we hit the box, we're going to lower this HP number. Now we have it all in one scene. Yours is going to be different, but for simplicity here, we've kept everything in one scene. Okay, so let's see. We got some to-dos here that we're going to want to do. So we want to create the sword swing hitbox. So the idea here is we're going to create a physics body, an arcade physics body, and just put it wherever the sword is, based on where the player happens to be at that time. So for example, we move here, we hit swing, we're going to want the box basically right where that the sword swing space is. So we're going to make a physics box that we're going to reuse each time we swing and just move it around with us. And now, of course, to handle the overlaps and know that it has happened, we're going to do a this.physics.add overlap similar to this. We've covered that in other videos as well. So that when that does happen, then we're going to change our box state to damage and you'll see it blink. So there's some more to do. Let's just go briefly through these to-dos. So this is the main attack enter part of the attack state for the night. And so we have some to-dos here, which we're going to move our actual hitbox into place here. And so you're going to see, just do this, that the swing animation starts before the sword actually will attack anything. So you can see it's maybe, 3 or 4 frames or whatever it might be, like there and there, right? Like the sword swings, and then when it gets here, then you want to show the box so that, when it's going back, when it's, what do we call it? Like gearing up for the swing, no attack can happen at that point. And then after that animation is done, we hide the hitbox and carry on with normal. It's because we don't want to be constantly hitting things even after we've swung. And down here, we're just making animations as normal. All right, so let's get started with implementing all these pieces that we will need. Let's go back up to the top and create here. So now we want to make the actual hitbox for the sword. Now let's see, we're going to make a rectangle, just a basic rectangle game object. So let's save it in our class here. So let's just put it up for here. So we're going to do private, let's call it sword hitbox, right? That's a good enough name. Now what type should it be? Let's just start simple. We're going to just say it's a rectangle. We wouldn't need to add physics to this, so we're going to change this in a little bit. But to start, we're going to make a rectangle. So this dot sort hitbox equals this dot add dot rectangle. Now, how big do we want it? We're gonna x and y. Let's just say 0, 0. Now, how big we're gonna want it really depends on your sprite. So we're just gonna do 3264 for now, and it's going to be, doesn't really matter what color because we're gonna make it transparent. We don't really want to see it, so let's just make it white. Then we're going to make it, what's this, fill alpha, let's make it 0. Well, let's just, we can see it. Let's do that. Okay, so here's our box up here. Now we're going to want to move that around when we move our player. That's why we have it as a class property here. So we have this game object, but of course a normal rectangle game object has no physics on it, right? So we do that body, this is actually nothing. Let's just log it out so you can see. Let's bring up our inspector here. Move it into another window. Let me bring it down. Okay. So right, this is null, our sorted text 76. If this console.log sorted a body. So it has no body. So to add a body to it, we can use the arcade physics, so this dot physics dot add dot existing, and then we can give it the sort hitbox. Now, if we do dot body console.log, we'll see that there is going to be something there after we do add existing. And there it is. So there's our body that we logged out, right? Just same place, line 77, which is right here. So now using .add.existing, we can put a physics body on any game object. So that's good. Now what I was mentioning just previously is the type. So actually, when we do this, this doesn't return any new type, but what it actually does, and if you go to the Phaser documentation here, what you're actually going to get is a game object with dynamic body, right? This is what you actually get. And you can find that, just go back here, in this .existing, this is in the arcade physics factory here. When you do existing, it's alphabetical, isn't it? Existing, okay. You see that it says the returns game object of type game object with body. You can come here and see, then there's some more specifics: dynamic body, static body, incident image with a body, whatever it might be. And this is, you can just give it a different type. So what we're going to use, let's just go with this one. Maybe we'll change it. We'll do phaser types. Say, trust me, it will be defined dot, and let's see, physics types dot physics dot arcade. So it's a game object. We'll say dynamic body. And we may have to adjust that. So this adds rectangle, right? So we're going to say that we know this will be phaser.types. So in TypeScript, so because they don't actually get to do this, you get our types here. Actually, why can I not? Types. Do I have another error somewhere? No. Those are types of physics. That's phaser.types. Sometimes things just don't work, even though you expect them to. Physics.arcade. Dynamic body. So, okay, good. Now we don't need to cast a note because it is rectangle is a child, or it inherits game object. Okay, so good. There we are. So now if we go back to our thing, you see there's this pink line, so that just denotes that it is a dynamic body in arcade physics. So now we're getting somewhere. Now now we want to move this box when we swing. So let's just real fast, just to make this, show this working. We're going to move here, swing, and then let's just move the box to where our player is. Let's just say in front of it, in front of our character here. So in our knight attack enter, so that's in our attack state. In the enter hook of our attack state, we're going to move our box. So this dot sort hitbox dot x, let's just say it's going to be the knight dot x, but just put it right with it. The knight is for now. Dot y, this dot knight dot y. So x and y, right? The game object may not have an x and y, so that's but the game object without the transform component, or the translate, I think it's transform in Phaser component, won't actually have an x and y. So one thing just to do this easily is that the image with dynamic body type is basically the same, even though it's not an image, it's just a rectangle. So this is where it'll be helpful just to use image with dynamic body. It's largely going to be correct. If you run into anything that's not correct when using TypeScript with this, you can just know and then don't reference those properties. So let's do that. So now that's what we're going to do. Unknown, because image, it will say that it doesn't overlap properly. Oh, well, let's do that, and I'll show you the error without doing that now. Okay, so what TypeScript says, here's the error. Mirror. Okay, that rectangle doesn't sufficiently overlap. The type of the rectangle doesn't overlap sufficiently with image with dynamic body. Now, that may be true, but for our purposes right now, it doesn't really matter. So we're just going to say cast as unknown. So trust me, I know what I'm doing. And then it is going to be an image with that antibody. And for our purposes, that'll be just fine. Maybe different for you, so just play with it and see what happens. Okay, so let's go back to our knight attack enter here. Okay, so that's good. Oops. Let's go here. So now when we press space for attack, we should move. And that box move to where our player is, which is what we want. So now we want it to be basically, if you're facing left, to be, I don't know, like the player's width over, let's say. Let's just do one side first. So we want to do this dot knight dot width. See what that gives us. Oh, no, sorry. Now Y. I meant X. Okay. Swing. Too far. Just adjust this. Okay. Is there a better way that let's see. Just check my notes here. No, let's just adjust this by hand. So you may want to, if you have multiple characters that can all attack, right? You may want to set this. It looks pretty good. In a global definition to define for each character what their like properties are. That'll help with this. If you have multiple characters that can, swing their different art assets, so their swords can be in different places and they're different sizes. Okay, so now we also want this to be a little bit lower. Let's see. How should we go about this? Let's just go with this. This dot knight dot height. Let's just say 20% of height. And it's always going to be plus, so that's never going to have to change. Just get it right like that. That seems about good. Yep. You can adjust, based on your character animation where this box should be. Now, this doesn't work if we flip around, because it always does it on the right side of our character. So we got to change this X. So we do that. So in our knight, we do flip X is true. So let's say this dot knight dot flip X. So if flip X, so let's see, when is flip X true? When it's going left. So when it's true, this will be, I want to say minus. Let's see if that's right. Otherwise, so else, so this is just our ternary if else here. So if flip X is true, give me this, else give me this. Let's see what we got here. That's good. All right. Now you do see, like I was mentioning in the beginning, when you first do the swing, the box is already there, but like the sword hasn't really swung yet. So to make it more precise, we can look at what frame the animation is in and then only do this at a certain animation frame. So we can do this dot knight dot on, and then the event we want is phaser dot animations dot events dot animation update. So that each frame update of the animation, we get this callback. And what we're going to get is the anim and the frame. That's the actual frame we're at. So do it gives me type? No. So this is going to be of type phaser dot animations dot animation. And then this is going to be phaser dot animations dot animation frame. Those are the two parameters in this callback. So what we're going to want to do is, if the frame is of like some index, so we can do frame dot index to get which of the animation, which frame number, the frame index it's at. Now in this specific case, if frame index, so we want 5. So if greater than or equal to 5, or let's say if less than 5, just don't do anything. Return. Now, when we do something, we want to now stop listening to this event. Now, to do that, we're going to do this dot ignite dot off, this same thing, too far, this same animation event name, but what do you put here? So this is the actual function you're using, and it's got to be the exact same one for that off to work. So to do that, we're going to actually take this out, because this is the function we want. Let's put it up here. Let's call it start hit. So now we've made a function, arrow function here. So we have a reference to this function. Then we can go, when we do off, take off this function that we're calling, and then on, call this function. So now we're doing that so that we can call off, because previously, as you saw, there's no way to call off on the function we're already in. There's no this in this arrow function, because we're using arrow functions here. So you can do something like this. So you get a reference to it first, then you add it, and then in itself, you can reference the reference to itself. So this is the key here for this. Okay, so now first thing we do once we are at frame 5 or higher, but in our case, we're going to just stop listening after we hit frame 5. So we stop listening. Then we're going to do this logic that we did right here. Boom. Let's format this better. So now you'll see we're going to start swinging, and then the hitbox appears because we are doing it only on frame 5. Okay, check my notes here for a sec. Make sure I got everything. Yeah, for now this is good. And here we want to hide it and remove it. We'll take care of that after we get this working with this dummy wall here, so that when this happens, there's an overlap. We should register a attack on our dummy box. So to do that, let's add this overlap up here. So this .physics.add. We're going to use overlap instead of collider. For your game, it may be different, but for us, for this example, overlap works just fine. So we're going to overlap let's see, the order could matter, but let's just say our hitbox and then our box. And we're going to have to handle the collision, right? That's the collide callback, and then the process callback. So let's just say we're going to make a method called handle collide, and then we're going to do nothing for collide, not collude. We're not going to collude. Undefined, and the context is this. Okay, so handle collide. Let's put that here. Handle collide. Now we're going to have object 1, which is GameObject.GameObject, then object 2, phaser.GameObject.GameObject. Double check what I'm doing here. Okay. So we have these game objects, but it doesn't really matter to us that they're here, but these are just for your reference, the two, and they always have to be game object. If you actually say this is the sort hitbox type or this is the box type, you don't get an error from TypeScript, just because the callback or the signature here is expecting. So let's go here. The signature for the callback. Callback is arcade physics callback, and what it is always wants game object. If you don't do game object, it's gonna complain. So the easiest thing is just to give it a game object, or game object with body, but the source. Since we're not gonna use it, it doesn't really matter. So here what we're gonna do is when this happens, this box state machine set state damage, right? This is what we talked about here. We want to change our box to the damage state when it hits. So this should work. Let's see. Now, it's of course continually hitting it, as you can see. So now we don't want that. Back out. So it's continually hitting it. So that's why the next step here, we're going to have to, after the swing animation is done, we got to remove our physics box for the sword so that we don't have this problem. So let's actually start. First thing, we don't even need to show it in the very beginning, right? So we can hide it. So this dot swordbox dot body. So we could disable it, and then this dot sword hitbox dot body dot dot visible does not show it either. So let's see. We should not see it in the top left here. Great. So we do have this thing. So even though it is disabled, so theoretically, I guess we can also do this. This dot physics dot world dot remove this dot sword hitbox dot body. So we're just going to go into the physics world and just remove this body, right? So this is just our thing here. Now if we do 0, we see it. Right, so it's still there. The rectangle is still there, but the body has been removed from the world, so it's not going to interact with anything. So I think if I do this, you don't even see it. The box is moving here, so just for debug purposes here. You'll see that it does in fact move, right? The game object is moving here, but we're not turning on, or we haven't added the arcade physics body back into the world, so nothing happens, right? There's no overlap happening because the body's not in the physics world and it's not being updated. So what we want to do is do the opposite of this, which is .add. We'll just copy that. And when our animation starts, basically over here, we can just, let's do this at the end. Instead of remove, add. And then what should happen, boom. So now we have that box that you see this pink or purple outline for the physics debug to show you that the hitbox for that object. And if we do here, it'll attack. Now, what we haven't done is removed it after the attack. So, this problem still occurs. Let's go here. Is our last to do is hide and remove the sword swing hitbox. So we just do this. So the same physics.world.remove the body of the sword hitbox. And it's gone. And it's gone. Right, there we go. So let's just show you that it does in fact work. Not close enough. Boom. Oh, okay. That remove. Right, because it's still there. So let's go this dot sword hitbox dot body dot enable false. And then here, enable true. Just creaming this box. There we go. So we remove it from the world and we disable it. There we go. So now to finish this, that just no longer show our rectangle. Let's make this 0 alpha. You can also set it to visible false, right? That will work fine as well. And actually here, dot body dot enable false. Now you could put these two in a method in this class or however you're doing, or in a function, so that you can just call this one thing to turn on and turn off the sword hitbox or whatever attack weapon you have, melee attack weapon. All right, boom, and it does it. Hits. Not close enough. Not close enough. Boom, hits. All right, so that is the sword swing attack. How to do that with arcade physics, so that when you attack someone, that hitbox only shows up for that time. And if it collides with something else in your world, you can then handle it. In our case, we're going to the damage state of our dummy box and then decrementing our HP. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do hit like and hit subscribe for more videos on making games on the web with Phaser and other web technologies.